Another gas explosion kills 8 and injures many in Barua area of Lagos. No COVID-19 deaths recorded in Nigeria on Wednesday as NCDC announces 155 new cases. In international news, Brazil hits 5 million coronavirus cases as experts fear second wave. And in sports, Uganda's Cheptegei breaks 10,000 track world record.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. 8 persons have lost their lives in Barua community of Lagos State in an explosion that rocked the area early on Thursday morning. Many were also reported injured. 25 houses, 16 lock-up shops, a primary school, and other properties in the area were also burned. First responders joined the Lagos Fire Service firefighters and the Lagos State Emergency Management Agency, LASEMA, to battle the inferno. LASEMA Director General Dr. Olufemi Oke Osaitolu said in a statement the fire was ignited by a gas explosion at a local cooking gas station, but his men could not immediately ascertain the cause of the explosion. It's now 4 days since Nigeria last recorded a coronavirus death. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, reported no fatalities on Wednesday, but confirmed 155 new cases. With that figure, Nigeria's confirmed cases rose to 59,738. NCDC says 51,403 of those cases have recovered and have been discharged. 95 of whom were released from treatment on Wednesday. 7 states, including the Federal Capital Territory FCT, reported new cases on Wednesday. Nigeria has been doing all it can to avert a serious COVID-19 situation in the country. Of course, the country has its limitations in a pandemic that has ravaged the world over. But local efforts to find
Dr. Tuyi
to the virus is gaining acceptance. One such effort is a locally made COVID-19 rapid test kit, for which Nigerians eagerly await government approval. Correspondent Deji Badmus has the story.
Dr. Tuyi Mebanwadu runs a private hospital in Lagos. He's among the medical experts eagerly awaiting a rapid test kit developed by the Nigerian Research Institute. His hospital does not have the capacity to test for COVID-19. He and his staff are exposed on a daily basis to patients who may carry the virus. He says the rapid test kit could put everyone in a safer position.
In recent times, we've seen quite a lot of people manifesting just vomiting alone. No fever, vomiting and headache. That's made the kit in. I wonder what virus could be causing that in Nigeria. Is there another manifestation of COVID-19? So normally, if these tests are available, we can do it as a routine for everybody that comes to the center, into the hospital, and then ensure that we get results that have a clear understanding of how to manage the virus.
One of the challenges with Nigeria's fight against the pandemic has been inadequate testing. Since the initial outbreak in February, just slightly over 500 tests have been conducted. That covers less than 1% of the population of around 200 million people.
The initial test, which is the PCR test, costs a lot, 50,000 naira, and it's not only costing a lot, it takes time before the result can come out. So with this one, that is going to be within 40 minutes and cost less than about 5,000, 4,000, 5,000. It is then within the reach of the people there. We can see quite a lot of people that can then be part of the rapid testing kit.
It's still not known when the final approval will be given for the deployment of the test kits, but health experts are quick to warn that standards should not be lowered in approving the kits for use.
We have to look at the sensitivity of this test kit and specificity of the test kit. When we talk about sensitivity, we're saying that out of 100 cases, out of 103 cases, true cases of COVID infection, can this test detect all the 100? That's sensitive. That means the test is sensitive. Then, if we are talking about specificity, we're saying that out of 100 negative cases of COVID-19, can this test show that they are truly negative?
Over the past 2 months, Nigeria has recorded lower numbers of daily new cases, but authorities say it's still not time to celebrate. Experts are unanimous that the rapid test kits would give a clearer picture of the situation of the disease in the country.
The House of Representatives has given an indication it will stand against impunity by individual members of the Nigeria Police Force. The House has moved to establish a framework for holding individual members of the Nigeria Police Force accountable for their conduct while discharging their lawful duties. The move would ascertain that Nigeria policemen are held liable when they violate citizens' rights as a result of failure in their conduct and operational procedures. The resolution followed the adoption of a motion by lawmaker Alhassan Adodogua calling for a stop to human rights abuses by members of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, SARS, an arm of the Nigeria Police Force. Dogua said the alarming rate of unauthorized raids, extortion, stealing frame-ups, and indiscriminate searches of mobile phones and other smart devices, and arbitrary confiscation and fraudulent conversion of private property of citizens to personal use is a sharp departure from the core mandate of the Nigeria Police in responding to cases of armed robbery, kidnapping, and other violent crimes. The Nigeria Senate wants the establishment of a new, reformed and rebranded Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. While speaking at the commencement of the 9th Senate Legislative Anti-Corruption Strategy Implementation Session, Chairman of the Senate's Committee on Anti-Corruption and Financial Crimes, Suleiman Kwari, said 90% of investigations should be done before EFCC effects any arrests. He advised EFCC officials against media hype and said the commission should do its work, forget about media, and let their work speak for them. Sokoto State former Governor Aliyu Wamako said EFCC's lean budget allocation for legal fees is of concern. He said EFCC budget should adequately provide for effective prosecutorial activities. Coming up, African stories. 19 Burundian Red Tabara rebels who sprayed into Rwanda arrested and paraded in Kigali. And later, international news. Brazil hits 5 million COVID-19 cases as experts fear second wave.
You are watching ANN.
Somewhere in the world, every second of the day, news is happening. And of course, Nigeria is bustling with news day and night. That is why ANN doesn't sleep. Our eyes are peeled, wide open, so no story escapes our radar. We stay abreast of world events and happenings at home. We keep you up to the minute in the world of sports. We give you information to stay on top of your investments and all the hard facts you'll need to navigate your day. If you miss us on air, you can keep up to date on our website and on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. We are ANN, Africa News Network. We do news right in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. Ethiopian President Sahle-Work Zewde has reopened the country's parliament after a short recess. The president touched on many issues during her speech, including the Grand Renaissance Dam. Correspondent Girum Chale has more.
Every year, it's a tradition for the president of Ethiopia to deliver a keynote speech in officially open sessions of the parliament and the House of Federation. And this year, that tradition remained alive despite the challenge posed by the COVID-19 pandemic. President Sahle-Work Zewde raised key issues the administration would focus on over the next 12 months. She says the top priority will be to strengthen and improve the hard-hit economy following the damage caused by the COVID-19 pandemic.
Corona We
will work to prevent any corona-related economic hardships. The steps we take focus on minimizing any forthcoming pandemic-related economic challenges, and it is also partly about bringing the economy back to normal after the pandemic is put under full control. It is also our plan to use any possible opportunities the pandemic brings to speed up our economic growth.
President Sahle-Work Zewde said insecurity has been a challenge for the country and guaranteeing peace across the border will be a key point of focus for the government.
We will take any serious measures against any formations and armed groups which stand in the way of the rule of law in the country. We will also work to prevent anyone except the government mobilizing weapons across the country. We won't allow the safety and security of citizens to be compromised at any time and anywhere in the country.
Ethiopia is also gearing up to hold its 6th national general elections within the next 12 months. The elections were postponed due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic.
The elections held in our country over the last 10 years have proven to be less participatory and unsuitable as fair elections. Therefore, the next national elections must fulfill international electoral standards and must quench our people's thirst for democracy.
The president also announced that the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam is scheduled to start the first phase of power production this year. The fight against the COVID-19, the planting of 5 billion trees, the creation of 3 million jobs are some of the success stories of Ethiopia over the last 1 year. The country now looks ahead with lots of unfinished homework.
Citizens living near the Yungwe forest in Yaruguru district in Rwanda said they are no longer perturbed by insecurity in the area, as the Rwanda Defense Forces have ensured that they are all safe and sound. This comes even as the security forces in the area paraded 19 combatants from the Red Tabara rebel group who strayed into Rwanda over the weekend.
Ruheru sector is one of the areas within vicinity of Nyungwe forest. In the recent years, this has been the pathway for illegal entry of people who have killed and maimed civilians. Rwanda Defense Force RDF on Saturday, October 3rd, announced that 19 Burundian militants armed with guns illegally crossed from Burundi to Rwanda. This group was led by Nkurunziza Egide. We were in the forest for the last 1 month fighting Burundi, but we did not know we have crossed to Rwanda because the forest looks alike. We have fought in many other forests and some are still there. In a report, Major Alexis Muranga, head of Gisego military base in Nyungwe forest in Ruheru sector, informed the International Conference on the Great Lakes region expanded joint verification mechanism that the rebels were apprehended 600 meters into the country from Burundi border. The group's representative, Kanori Gobert Ibwanga from the Democratic Republic of Congo, called on militias operating in the region to stop disrupting security in various forests as they have different effects on the citizens.
Nous voulons qu'il y ait la stabilité dans la
We want stabilization in the region. We are calling on those who are still in this forest to stop this so that our citizens live in harmony and peace. We will give this report to the CLG.
de tous les pays de la CIRGL.
Some residents of one of the sectors most frequently attacked by the rebels say the activities of the Rwanda armed forces in the area provide comfort to them. They are also determined to work together to maintain their security in general. We are protected by our own army, and whenever we meet them, we ask for their identification to ensure that we are all safe. We also play our part to ensure that there is security because we take turns around and make sure no one crosses into the country illegally or crosses to the neighbors.
When we return, international news. Brazil hits 5 million coronavirus cases as experts fear second wave. And later, sport. Uganda's Cheptegei breaks 10,000 track world record.
You are watching AN.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. Brazil is now the second country in the world with the highest number of COVID-19 cases, now at 5 million. The country has also recorded 150,000 deaths so far. Only the United States has recorded more COVID-19 fatalities. 31,553 cases and 734 deaths were recorded on Wednesday. Public health experts have warned the country faces the danger of a second wave as Brazilians ignore social distancing precautions. Federal University of Rio de Janeiro epidemiologist Roberto Medrohan has cautioned that the numbers could be much higher if testing for COVID-19 were more widespread. Brazil's far-right president Jair Bolsonaro has been blamed for ignoring the seriousness of the virus, even though he was infected and had to isolate for 2 weeks. Bolsonaro has opposed to lockdowns and encouraged Brazilians to return to their normal lives for the economy to recover. The French government has announced it would extend to the end of this year its temporary unemployment scheme through which it pays all an employee's salaries. The French government has rolled out a huge scheme as COVID-19 struck to avoid mass bankruptcy and redundancies. Respondent Ross Collin has the story.
As the COVID-19 pandemic struck and lockdown was enforced, the French government rolled out a huge furlough scheme to avoid mass bankruptcies and worker layoffs. The hospitality sector was especially hard hit as restaurants closed, holiday bookings dried up, and travel restrictions forced visitors to stay at home.
The introduction of the furlough scheme was very important, and it worked well. It allowed us to preserve the maximum number of jobs. However, by the end of the year, we may have a 25% decrease in the number of employees.
The costs to the French state of its furlough policy run into billions of dollars, and the country's public sector deficit is set to balloon this year compared with 2019.
The furlough scheme is going to be complicated to manage in the long term because it gives the right to paid leave. We have zero turnover but have to pay for vacations, so this situation is going to be hard for companies.
Another issue the government has faced is furlough fraud, estimated last month at more than $260 million.
Businesses will be pleased that the furlough scheme has been extended, but it cannot last forever. And in reality, the government's only delayed, not erased, the issue. And 2021 may well begin with uncertainty for employers and employees.
Tens of thousands in cities and towns across Israel marched to demand Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's resignation. Netanyahu is facing corruption charges in court, but people are also angry about a new emergency law that prohibits large protests or demonstrations. Weekly protests against Netanyahu have been going on for more than 4 months. Correspondent Stephanie Freed has the details.
The new law stipulates that people can't protest beyond 1 kilometer of their homes, but as you can see, people here are on the move. Because they broke the limitations going beyond the 1 kilometer, police here have sealed off the entire area, blocking in the protesters on all 4 sides, creating a standoff. Police are repeatedly calling on the protesters to stand down and take a distance of 2 meters. They're being met with boos. The new law has reportedly been the Prime Minister's focus during recent Corona Committee meetings. It's meant to keep the number of protesters and COVID-19 infections in check. but its implementation is having the opposite effect.
There is no big danger of infection in the demonstration. This is a political decision by the Prime Minister and the gang that surrounds him to eliminate the demonstrations.
Israel went into a second countrywide lockdown in September as COVID-19 infection rates hit record highs. Critics, including national health and finance officials, say the lockdown and the new law curbing demonstrations are unnecessary and extreme measures the Prime Minister is implementing for political gain.
The first and only U.S. vice presidential debate between Mike Pence and Kamala Harris has been described as far more civil than last week's debacle between President Donald Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden. The coronavirus pandemic was one of the most important topics of the night. Harris said President Trump's response to the pandemic is the greatest failure of any presidential administration in the history of the United States. More than 210,000 Americans have died so far, and at least 7.5 million have caught the virus, including Trump himself. In his response, Pence defended President Trump, saying his administration has been very successful. When asked about the Rose Garden event for Trump's Supreme Court nominee, Coney Barrett, that has been identified as the super spreader event for the White House virus outbreak, Pence tried to defend the decision to hold the event even with attendees wearing no mask. Harris insists there is a worsening justice system in the country and that justice does not prevail in the Breonna Taylor and George Floyd's cases. Biden and Harris both evaded many questions and decided to pivot to other topics they would rather treat. The next U.S. presidential debate is scheduled for next Thursday. The U.S. Commission on Presidential Debates had just announced the debate would be a virtual event as a precaution against the spread of the virus by the president who is currently infected. President Trump has announced he won't participate in the virtual debate. He said the event should be held in person because he's not contagious. The Biden campaign has signed on to the virtual debate format. Up next, sports. Uganda's Cheptegei breaks 10,000 track world record. Please stay with us.
You are watching ANN.
Whether in your house, at your office, on your phone or online, we are there. We have the fact behind the headlines. We cut to the chase with the news you really need. We cover every angle. We are the bigger, better news network. We are African News Network. ANN. Watch ANN News on MITV from a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. In sports, Ugandan long-distance runner, 24-year-old Joshua Cheptegei, has set another world record of 26 minutes at an event in Spain, beating the previous record set by Ethiopian long-distance runner Kenenisa Bekele in 2005. This year alone, Cheptegei has broken 3 world records, including in the 5,000 meters and the 5-kilometer road world record in Monaco in February. More than 200 investigators are probing the German Football Association for alleged tax fraud. Frankfurt's public prosecutor reviews the German judiciary on Wednesday, searched the premises of the German Football Association and the homes of current and former officials as part of a tax fraud investigation. 6 current or former officials are accused of not reporting income for 2014 and 2015, amounting to almost 5 million euros in taxes. That is ANN News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on these and other breaking stories, visit our website, annafrica.news. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatuji. Have a pleasant evening.